Alright, so our trig functions, we've got 6 of them. We've got our typical ones, our sine, our cosine, and our tangent that we've been working with. And we understand. Let me bring a triangle in here. So if we have, remember we need a right triangle, so we'll call that a right triangle. Let's see if I can move it. Here we go. Alright, so we got our triangle here. If we look at this triangle, let's call it a right triangle. And here's our right triangle. And we'll call this one 3, we'll call this one 4, which obviously is going to make this our 5. Remember, Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared has got to equal c squared. So I know that 16 plus 9's got to equal 25. Since it does, life is good. We've got a right triangle. We can work with our trig functions. And remember, we also need an angle. So let's work with this angle here. We'll call it theta. If I want to find the sine of theta, I would just use what is written here, which would be my opposite over my hypotenuse. So my opposite is going to be my side that's opposite, which is my 4. And my hypotenuse is always my longest side, which will be my 5. Cosine now is going to be my adjacent side, which will be the side next to it, over top of my hypotenuse, which is going to be 3 over 5. And then my tangent, of course, is going to be my opposite over my adjacent. So I'll have 4 over 3. So I need an angle to use, but once I'm using theta here, I can see that those are going to be my different values. Now what's new? Oh great, I lost my shape. Let's see if I can bring it. Oops, let's see if I can bring it back. There it is. Alright, so what's new now are going to be these 3 values I have over here, which would be my cosecant, my secant of theta, and my cotangent of theta. Now these are just going to be reciprocal functions, which means that my cosecant is just going to be the reciprocal of sine, which essentially is just going to flip our relationship now. So instead of it being opposite over hypotenuse, our cosecant is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So it'll be 5 over 4. So hypotenuse over opposite. It flips that relationship. Same thing for secant. Secant is going to be the reciprocal of cosine. Cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse, which means that secant is going to be hypotenuse, 5 over adjacent, which is 3. So I'll have 5 over 3. And my tangent and my cotangent have the same relationship. Tangent's opposite over adjacent. My cotangent is going to be adjacent over opposite. Adjacent over opposite would be 3 over 4. And you can see when they're lined up next to each other, they're just the reciprocals of each other. We flip our fractions. So if we look at the next page real quick, we can see here I've got the same triangle here. It's just a little bit cleaner. If I'm using angle A, I can see my different relationships. Opposite over hypotenuse is going to be my sine, which would make my cosecant 5 over 3. For my cosine, I'm going to have adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 4 over 5. For my secant, it'll just be flipped, 5 over 4, which leaves me my tangent and my cotangent. My tangent is my opposite over adjacent, which is 3 over 4. Cotangent is just going to be that flipped relationship. So essentially it's the relationships that we've been working with and we've been using, except now it's just going to be their reciprocals.